things I want to do in my lifetime. I want to be a mom to a bunch of kids, like a small army or a large army of children. And I want to produce a Justin Timberlake album. And I want to be in a movie at some point. Yeah, that's about it.
Just before I die, I'd like to speak in front of 1 million people and tell them something very inspirational. I want to own 100 cats.
Before I die, I would like to skydive.
Before I die, I want to go to Africa on a mission trip.
Before I die, I would love to ride a camel.
Before I die, I want to run an ultra marathon.
Before I die, I'd like to go on a safari trip with Shaquille O'Neal. Yeah.
Before I die, I'd like to cut my hair really short.
Before I die, I would like to get a license in massage therapy, and I'd also like to fly.
Before I die, I'd like to visit Venice, Italy.
Before I die, I want to grow a beard down to here and be a millionaire.
Before I die, I would like to witness a pope being re-elected and put into office.
Before I die, I want to get married and buy a big house and turn some of the rooms in the house into a foster care or emergency housing for students and children that are on the streets, that they can come and have a safe environment to live in if their housing isn't too swell for them to live in.
I want to go skydiving, bungee jumping, cliff diving. More importantly, I want to be a dad.
Before I die, I'd like to read the whole Bible in original Hebrew.
Before I die, I want to visit all the continents in the world.
Before I die, I want to shake it off with Taylor Swift.
Before I die, I'd like to backpack across to Europe, and I would love to go up and see the Northern Lights in Alaska.
Before I die, I'd like to sing the national anthem at an NFL football game.
Before I die, I want to raise ladybugs or butterflies. Since I was little, I always had a fascination with them, and although it's kind of embarrassing to admit, I think they're beautiful, and that's what I want to do.
Before I die, I want to live overseas and be a missionary, just for a little bit.
Before I die, I'd like to buy my parents a house.
Before I die, I'd like to backpack around Europe with Mr. Fredrickson.
It's a hard question because my dream is to be a full-time missionary, and that doesn't necessarily mean in another country, but whether I'm teaching or being an artist or a writer, whatever I'm doing in my life, I just want to share the gospel through the way I live my life.
Before I die, I'd like to visit all the countries that my ancestors came from.
Before I die, I'd like to save a life.